Alrighty, so Rio here, and it is week 6. Does that look okay? Week 6 in CIT 85, HTML, and CSS. And given that it's week 6, let's see if you know without me telling you what week in the course should you be working through by the end of this week. You should be finished with week 12. Now, from the assignment standpoint, there's actually some good news as far as the number of assignments. There's actually only one. Let's just take a look at them real quick. I was looking at them a minute ago. Right, so if I scroll down, right, looking through here, okay, so again, we're in week 6. So you should be all the way through 12. Okay, multiply by 2 and you have it. Right? So there's actually in this week, meaning, right, 11 and 12 would be year 12. That would be the work you'd want to be up to. And building a website, in this case, 2 pages, but Todd does have some specific requirements for you to meet in there, so make sure you check those out. And then I updated the final project to include another site you would build. And you can do this within the repo, just creating a directory for those as we've been doing. And just FYI, after, because I put that on all the forward assignments, but hopefully you're getting used to it by now. You always want to have those be in a separate folder. Okay, so by the way, if you happen to be checking in with this class just today and trying to get caught up, it's not too late. Definitely go back in the list, right? If you go back into the home, and you scroll down, what you want to do is scroll down and look at the first video from Todd and then start checking out the discussions that I've been doing weekly, right? So here they are. Here's the one for today. So that's just in case you're just coming in. Okay, so just a couple things about the week we're coming into. So we're coming into, as I said, week 6. Week 6 for me is going to be a little bit different, although the folks that I've seen in this class have been through Zoom, so this shouldn't be a challenge, hopefully, for anybody. Or you're also seeing tutors as well. So if you're not sure about that, if you scroll down on the home, you'll also see a schedule for the tutors as well. But in this coming week, I will be Zoom only. I will be off campus this coming week. So if you're looking to connect with me, it'll be only through Zoom. And I hope you are connecting. Like I said, I'm getting some of you who I'm communicating through on the assignment level, meaning, and by the way, you can know this, right, is that when you submit the work, and what I do is I pull your work through GitHub, right, into my local system, and I run it and I view it locally. And so once I do that, I give you feedback on the item, especially if you've missed something. And now you can resubmit it. But I do want to give a little bit of a warning here. Like after a couple of times, I'm probably going to say, hey, listen, you got to get this right, because as we move closer to the end of the semester, it gets a little more challenging for me to say, yeah, submit it as many times as you want, because it's just from the amount of assignments. So FYI, okay? So I talked about, just the schedule for next week. But the other thing I want to say, and that's here, is that, and this just is important for me to go over, the last time and day. Okay, so last time, 1 o'clock, the last day, May 18th, which is a Thursday. Okay. So if you're not sure about that date, right, you can always, if you're not using the calendar within Canvas, which I, by the way, highly recommend, right? So that's a Thursday at 1 o'clock will be the last time you can submit work for this class. That's either, and again, that's any work from the beginning. Don't recommend doing that just because that's not good practice. And what happens if you're not getting, anyway, that I don't need to go over that. Hopefully I don't. Hopefully you have that. So today, besides reminding you, because you will probably hear me remind you in week 7 and week 8, because we're just so close to the end. But I wanted to answer a question a student asked me, in the discussion about Chat GDP, GPT, GDP. That's so funny. That's so funny. So I'm suspecting many of you have heard, and if you haven't, there's this thing called Chat GPT, which is is not necessarily new. It's just gotten better. And what do I mean by that? I'm actually going to show you here in a minute what that is. And it's affecting a lot of, it can potentially affect a lot of different areas in our world. And in technology, there's a real concern for students and for people wanting to get into this industry that it will be disruptive, meaning some of the things it can do is actually code. And so some might want to ask the question, should I still be going into a tech field if there is something artificial intelligence? Okay. And there's actually a spectrum of artificial intelligence. In this case, Chat GPT is what we call a large language model, which basically means it has scanned a huge amount of information and basically says, based on your prompt, which is basically the similar concept as a Google query or a search engine. When you type in, that's a query. But in this case, it also gives you context to where you can ask it following questions and it'll understand the context of which you're asking it in. So it's becoming very, very popular. Various ways you can use it. One of the things I recommend signing up for an account. It's completely free. You can go to, I just signed up for a new account today because I wanted to, using it for another class. But you can go to OpenAI. Okay, you can go to OpenAI. You can check out the accounts, okay, products. It also is had been used for creating images based on just like, show me an otter from outer space. So, and it'll create that image. And you've probably seen images on the web or people who have their profiles updated with it. But the newest one, Chat GPT or GPT-4, Chat GPT is free. So you can sign up. You just have to give it an account, email. You do have to give it your a phone number to verify your account, and then you can get in. And this is what it looks like once you're in. So this is a brand new account. I haven't used it before, and this gives you some examples of things that you can do. Like, you might wonder for a class like this, how might you use it? Well, you could ask it just general questions, like if you were working on an assignment and you're like, you know what? I've watched the video, I'm just not sure, right, about certain concepts like you could say, help me understand float in CSS, right? So the more specific, and that's called a prompt, right? And so what it does here is it generates some content. You can read this, right? Float, like Sabak level element. Previously, it was an inline, which is awesome, right? Overall, da da da. And then you can read this. And by the way, notice what happens over here is you actually get and what will happen is as you have this conversation, and conversation means you give it a prompt, it gives you output. It saves it, so you don't have to actually do that prompt again, and it saves it into your account. So now what I could do is I say, can you give me an example? Okay, so what this does is it says, okay, it understands that I'm asking about float, and it's like, okay, here you go. Right, okay, okay, all right. So I see what you're doing here. You have a div, it's a container. It's got a class of box, or box, and it's actually got two classes on it. Okay, so we can come down here and look at what the box is, and then you float right and float left. Okay, that seems pretty logical, right? And then what I could do is I could actually copy and paste that and create a page just to look at it. And this is where, if, I think in education, we're all a bit trying to figure out how this is going to affect everything. And the answer is we don't know. Um, and because you can have it write also essays, right? But trust me, there's going to be tools instructors will have that will see if you are using this directly for turning in essays, which is, even from a coding perspective, is not the ideal. The idea is to get either inspiration, have it help you understand topics. Notice in this case of where I'm using it, it doesn't give me a reference for where this information comes from. So I can't really validate the information, right? Now I can validate it by going out. Validate it means make it, can I say, based on this information that I've gathered from these sources based on their authentic content. And we can talk about how you authenticate content. Generally, you look for an author and a date. Okay. But in this case, what you're asking, right, is I wouldn't know necessarily if this is good information. Now, for coding, there is a little different because this was built by programmers, developers, coders. You know, I'm more willing to trust the source in this case because these are coders. These are people who do this for a living. So it's a little different in the context of a class like this. But what you really want to do is not have it do your work for you, which, I'm not saying, the thing is, I don't know how you will use it. I'm just showing you the different, the different concepts around it and how it could be used. So, like, as an example, in my JavaScript class today, I'm going to be showing students how to write code to actually do this prompting, back and forth, this conversation. So, it's a great way to demonstrate concepts. And I'm really thinking of ways I can teach with it. And it just seems really important because we don't know what the future holds. Yes, there is some concern around jobs that it may replace. Can it replace text job? As a matter of fact, I would recommend if you're not on Discord and if you want this, matter of fact, maybe I'll just include it in the message. I posted a video yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. Yeah. About, you know, um, this young woman who has a pretty nice channel. Her name's Lucy, and I watch her once in a while. She's really good. But she was at this conference and she walked around talking to people who have years of experience in IT and not so many years, and talk to them about how they feel this and it's called, the category is artificial intelligence, but it's a specific type called generative. So it can generate content, it can generate conversation, and it's not to the level of what we would call general artificial intelligence, which would be closer to human intelligence. There is some concerns that this could become closer to human intelligence. And again, there's just various ways you can use, right? Now, one of the ways I've used this is we run a small business, and I asked it the other night based on the context of what I was wanting is write a social media post for me, and it did an amazing job. I was pretty blown away by it. So anyway, in this point of this week 6, I just wanted to introduce it to you, recommend you actually get an account, start playing around with it, just as we all learn to become better searchers for search engines, writing queries, writing, searching. This is a similar concept. We're all going to get better at writing these prompts, right? And the better you can write prompts, the better information you'll get out because you're giving it these, right? We call, of course, it's just a prompt that's made up of words, and it takes those words and it predicts the next logical thing based on the context of what you're talking about. So it's going to look at all my prompts and go, okay, now, can they find content that very much matches the context of the words that I'm looking for? Anyway, play with it. You have any questions? If there's in the reply here, is there any questions about this you'd want to ask me? That'd be good. And somebody who asked me to cover this, is this is what you were hoping, or is there something else you'd like me to cover? All right, week 6. I'll talk to you later. Talk to you on week 7. See ya. Remember, I'm out of the office this week, but I will be available on Zoom. Have a great one.